Welcome to Elevate Springfield, where we will dive into strategies and stories that help you rise to your full potential. Each episode, we'll talk about how you can take intentional steps to elevate your life and your business while making a meaningful impact on those around you. Along the way, we're going to bring in the change makers from our community that are already elevating. We'll bring the actionable strategies, you bring the discipline and follow through, and together we can elevate Springfield. All right, let's go, everybody. Welcome in. You are listening to Elevate Springfield, where we're going to bring you those actionable strategies. You bring the follow-up and discipline, and together we're going to elevate Springfield. So, hey, if you're new to the show, you're listening to Robert Ferriell here. Excited to have you. If you want to listen to previous episodes, hey, just open up your favorite podcast outlet and search for Elevate Springfield. Should be able to find us. I am excited for another phenomenal episode. I got my man, Mr. Jack Geiser, coming in to visit, and I'll tell you, we had a great conversation, a lot of great takeaways we've got for you today. You know, he's one of these young professionals out there right now, just absolutely crushing it and leading the charge for those young professionals. So he is wise beyond his years, which you're going to find out here real soon. So let's get right into it. Mr. Jack Geiser from Clean Cut Painting and Handyman, right after the break. Hey, everybody. Need a fresh look or a quick fix for your home or business? Call my man Jack Geiser at Clean Cut Painting and Handyman. They offer competitive rates and immediate response. Clean work, done right, right now. That's Clean Cut. Call Jack at 217-494-7028. All right, and we are back. Joining me in the studio now is a guy that if you go to any association events here recently, or if you've been out about town at all recently, you've probably seen this guy, Mr. Jack Geiser. Jack, how we doing today?
Good, man. How about yourself?
Fantastic.
Good deal.
We're going to talk all things clean cut and all that good stuff, but before we get to that, tell us a little bit about Jack, man.
Well, I own Clean Cut Painting and Handyman here in Springfield. We do like interior and exterior painting, deck sanding and cabinet refinishing, and then I also have a couple carpentry crews, so kind of big and small and everything in between. You know, I always like to say I'll pick up dog poop out of your backyard if that's what it takes.
There you
know
go.
What I'm saying? So, yeah, man, my dad started out of Decatur about 9 years ago, and then I opened up the office in Springfield last February, so I just touched the 1 year mark over here in Springfield, and I live here personally as well. So, yeah, man.
Well, tell us a little bit about your background before this. You know, you're a younger guy. You don't have to go all the way back. But tell us a little bit about your background before this.
Well, shoot, man, it goes back quite a ways. You know, so I got into it. Grew up in the industry. My dad is always just a great role model for me, and my first full-time summer working with him when I was 9. So I'm coming up on 10 years in the industry here, you know, so.
That's pretty good for your age.
Well,
10 years in the industry already.
Well, I don't know, you know, we get there, start young, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, so been doing it for quite some time now, and started off just riding with my dad, was interested in what he was doing, didn't want to stay at home all day in the summers, did sales for about 2 years. And then when I was 11, that's when, you know, he got me out in the field, started doing some character building stuff, you know, the stuff nobody wants to do, you know, so cleaning out dirty apartment hallways and trashing out rentals and
picking up that dog poop, like you said.
Literally. Yeah. And a little bit of power washing. So that kind of built like the character muscle in me, you know, and built the work ethic a little bit. And, like, you know, I would always run sales with my dad, you know, on the side or whenever he would let me ride with him, you know. And I remember when I first started, he gave me the option. He's like, you know, I can either pay you hourly or I can give you commission, you know, on what we're selling. And so I chose the commission route, you know, so that was pretty cool, you know. So
you're probably pretty unique in that aspect. I bet you a lot of kids would have chosen the guaranteed thing.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's I knew I had a lot of faith in my dad. I knew that he could sell and he was pretty good at what he did. So I figured, you know, if I paid attention to him and learned from him, that it'd work out for me, you know, and so far it kind of has, you know, so, but yeah. And then when I was 12, that's when I painted in the summer. So I'm a painter by trade. That's kind of what I personally am best at. And then I did some drywall work for another summer. And then I was 15, he gave me the keys to a van. And that's when I started, delivering materials and, locally, right? Because didn't quite have the driver's license yet. But yeah, checking jobs and delivering materials. And then I was 16. That's when I really got into the sales. So I was just strictly in a sales role for about a year. And then when I was 17, that's when I opened up the office in Springfield and did the home show, met great guys like yourself. The rest is history, right?
Hard to believe that was almost a year ago already.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
Yep. Coming up here this weekend.
How important were those initial, you said, character building activities? How important are those early on?
Well, yeah, they say that 80% of second generation business owners fail. So I always knew that, and I knew that I did not want to be that. I didn't want to be like because they always have like the boss's son, you know what I'm saying? And so I knew that's not who I wanted to be. I wanted to, be my own man and kind of make my own way within the company and, kind of go off of what my dad's already built, take what he's already learned and been through. I don't have to go through the same thing, I don't want to have to repeat any of his mistakes, right? So, yeah, that's been great. But yeah, had he not thrown me in with, I remember the first day that I started doing that grunt work there, I got home and my dad was like, how was it? I'm like, man, like that was the worst day of my life, and that became everyday life that whole summer. So, yeah, and it was just great too. I knew that, if I don't make the right decisions in life, then this is the type of stuff that I'm going to be doing every day. So,
gave you that drive.
That's right. Kind of, the opposite end, right? Yep. Showed me the good and the bad. So, yep.
So you said 80% of second generation businesses fail. There's probably some stats around that about why that is, but why do you personally think that is, that so many of them fail when you hit that second generation?
Yeah, well, and I've said this before, but, my dad's biggest thing was growing up is, you eat what you kill. Like the best thing I ever gave you was nothing. So I think a lot of the times, a large majority of the successful business owners that you meet have been through it. And they've been through the stages where they're like, okay, how am I going to make payroll this week? Or how am I going to put gas in my truck?
Right.
And so I think a lot of the successful business owners that are wanting to get their kids into it don't want their kids to have to go through those negative experiences. But I think kind of what some people don't realize is that it's those negative experiences that, really build that character in you and make you, really want to succeed. So I think it's kind of just, they've made it, and they want their kids to have a good life and an easy life. And, I'm sure, easy is not really always the best way,
That is correct.
Yep. So, I think it's, and a lot of, like I've seen, some of the second generation business owners that, probably aren't going to do the best. And it's, a little bit like a false sense of entitlement, maybe a little bit. And just kind of like, it's almost like it's a sense that you can feel like, okay, I know you probably have not been through this before. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a condescending vibe or anything like that, but it's just a little bit of like how you carry yourself, like you haven't been through the struggle, then you don't know what that's like,
Right.
So it's, I think it's, I think a lot of parents are trying to look out for their kids, but in reality, I think they might be doing more harm than good sometimes,
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We were talking before we went on here that I went to the growth conference a couple weeks ago, and a common theme amongst the speakers there was having that grind early on, having to go through that struggle to get to where they are, to get to be a billionaire, in some cases multi-billionaire.
Absolutely.
Is how important that initial grind is to creating a solid foundation for the business. So at least for the long term.
Well, and I'm an open book too, man. So I'll tell you, like, when I was at that young age, just started getting into it, my dad was kind of going through it, with the divorce and stuff. So, he was literally going through that grind, and I was right there alongside him, with him the whole time. Right. Like, Jack, we got to get a sale today. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, that was really, I think, a big blessing actually for me. It was kind of weird going from, we're going to the country club, living in a nice house, to living in one of my dad's rentals and, in Decatur and stuff. And yeah, at the time it wasn't all that fun, but looking back on it, it's weird. Looking back on it, the times where we didn't really have very much ended up being some of the most fun times that, we've ever had. 'Cause, we're building it together. Right.
And so that's awesome. How cool is that?
Yeah.
To build that with your dad.
Yeah.
Look cool. Back on that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, now that you've built that and you're building over here in Springfield, you said you've been here a year now, like you talked, just a little over a year. So tell us a little bit more about the company here in Springfield, some more of the things you guys are doing and how you've started to grow the company over here.
Well, and so my favorite thing is to figure out things on my own that my dad didn't tell me about, you know? So, and one of those things was the importance of being local and being involved in the community was kind of something that I figured out on my own because, you know, when I came up here, I didn't have the branding that we have in Decatur, or, you know, I didn't have any of the support, any of the admin, or I didn't have my dad there at all times, you know?
Right.
Like, since I've been here, he's been up to Springfield, I think maybe 4 or 5 times, you know, for the boat show or the home, you know, like 4 of those 5 have been for personal stuff.
Sure.
And the other time it was just he was helping me look to price a job, you know, so he's never stepped on one of my jobs. If someone's unhappy or something's not going well, you know, he kind of threw me to the deep end a little bit, and, you know, kind of like, hey, you know, I don't want to be called every 15 minutes when you got a little inconvenience, you know, it's just better to figure out for yourself. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's what I've done. And I think one of the things that I'm really wanting to do as I build this is really just stress the importance of being local and being involved in the community. I know we spoke last time about how, yeah, I didn't have anything going on. You know, I didn't have any jobs, no leads were coming in. So a lot of door knocking, a lot of begging people for help, you know, and, you know, just entering in all the chamber events and going 100% of them, you know, and that was kind of how I got started. And I still do that, you know, I don't go to all of them anymore, but I try to make it, you know, to as many, chamber on tap, and, you know, so yeah, that's really been the biggest part. Like, those people are there to help you, you know, so your input determines your output. So if you're at the events and you're making the outreach that you need to make and shaking hands, you know, and that's going to pay off for you. But, you know, even if you go to all of them, but you're kind of in the corner, or you're just talking to the people that only you know what I'm saying, then it's not really going to pay off. So, you know, it's been a little bit of a humbling experience, you know, walking in, nobody knows me here, you know, so.
But now I think people know you.
Yeah,
right?
a little
'Cause
bit.
you've been going to it, so people are starting to know you
Yeah.
and everything. Why do you think, I mean, when I go to those events, you know, you guys are most like, you and your group of guys that you're with are a lot of times are the youngest group in the place, right? Why do you think there's so many maybe under 25s that don't go to those type of events, whereas you guys do?
That's a tricky question. You know, I'm not really quite certain if I know the answer to that one. It's not really a normal thing to do. You know, I don't know really anybody from my high school that is going to chamber events now. That was something that my dad told me, you know, when I moved up. He's like, hey, just so you know, you're going to want to join the chamber, you know, just to be in it or whatever. Yeah. And then I met a dude, you know, shout out to Dalton Minder. And then we just kept roping in more young studs, you know, getting it going again. And yeah, that's really been great too. I think that's another blessing in disguise, I think, is that I moved up here not knowing anybody and not having any friends. You know, the chamber events, that was my only shot at making friends.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
And, you know, what name a better place to meet some friends,
Right.
you know? So
it's around a lot of people that are trying to crush it just like you are.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. So, you know, that's kind of that's how we hang out. You know, that's where we get together at. It's like the chamber events, you know? So it's fun on a personal level, but, you know, it's really productive, you know, on a professional level as well.
Absolutely. So, I don't know. I just always wonder if, you know, if younger professionals, either they don't see the value in going to things like that, or they just don't know to go to things like that. Like with my Explore for Success group, you know, I took them to the chamber job fair. They're between 14 and 18 years old, but I want them to start going to those type of things to be able to network and get used to being a part of those type of things. So I don't know, I just wonder why we don't get more younger professionals in there. I know Rise has done a great job of getting more and more people in.
Right. But, well, it's and it's kind of the same. I mean, whether it's the young people, and it's kind of the same excuse for the older people. And you know, whether it's a chamber event or the home show, they're like, you know, oh, well, I went to like a couple and I didn't get anything out of it. Well, it's like, you kind of have to like stop thinking about, you know, yourself and start thinking about, okay, because if you shift your focus to, you know, how can I make this place better? Like my whole thing is like, you know, I want to drive the young community into the chamber, you know, to benefit the chamber, you know, that way it keeps going. Cause I want, you know, 20 years from now when I'm old and there's a young dude like myself that wants to get into business. Well, you know, because if I didn't have that place to go to make connections, you know, I probably wouldn't be around right now. You know what I'm saying? I probably would have sank the ship a long time ago. Right. So, but yeah, it's just, I think it's, you know, like I said, it's your input determines your output. So people aren't going because they don't think that they're going to get anything out of it. And I'm all about like the law of attraction too. As a man thinketh, so is he. So if I roll into a chamber event thinking, oh, I'm not going to get any
it's
leads
gonna
out
be
of this.
nothing. I'm not gonna do.
Well, then there's,
Right. That's gonna.
whether you say you can or you can't, you're typically right either way.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that the mindset's a lot of it, and luckily the Rise program's around now, so I think now that they're marketing towards a younger audience, that's real helpful too.
Absolutely.
So,
have you been a part of Rise very much?
Yeah. So when I joined, I remember when I sat down, they told me about Rise, so that was kind of made a point to go to as many of those as I can. I want to support that, and I know, I mean, you're not really going to find a whole lot of young business owners per se at the Rise events. It's mainly just like people that work for companies that their bosses send them there. But I mean, even still, it's still great.
Yeah, it's awesome. And in a position that you're in, where with your company,
everybody needs
it. Or what you're offering, right? So it doesn't matter if they're a business owner or if they're just a homeowner that works for somebody else. Your services could be for any of them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, tell me more about how your business had it already had your brand over in Decatur and everything, but when you came to Springfield, like you said, you really didn't have brand awareness over here. So what are some other things you did to help build your brand here?
Right. Well, and like I said, it was a real humbling experience, and at first I was kind of trying to, I think maybe I even had a little bit of that entitlement, you know what I'm saying? It was kind of like, man, nobody knows me. No one knows like what we're doing over in Decatur. It was kind of frustrating. And so, a lot of it was just getting out there and doing the work. It was like, okay, yard sign in every yard. Like I want to knock 6 doors on, we call it like a 6-pack. So it's 2 on either side of the house that we're working at, and then 2 across the street.
Okay.
So like,
I like that.
Yeah. So I might get my door hangers out there. A lot of it's really been my personal brand too. Not saying that like I have like, a big one or anything like that, but it's really helped like every time I'm out and about, why not make a Facebook post about it, So yeah, just trying to get your name out there. I try never to be seen in public without my logo on me too,
Every time I see you, absolutely.
Clean cut, man, so that's been big too. And a lot of it, man, some of it, once you get the ball rolling and you get some momentum, it'll start to kind of happen on its own. People talk, that can either be a good thing or a bad thing for your business. So, you do a good job for someone, they're going to tell everyone they know about you, because finding a good contractor nowadays is pretty hard. So, yeah, I would have to put a lot of that into my clients, just really taking care of me and helping me out. It's one thing my dad told me whenever I was struggling at first. I was like, man, like this is tough. Like I knocked doors all day. I didn't get any response, no answers, no leads out of it. I'm like, this is horrible, man. He's like, well, like you're really just going to have to be humble and like ask for help. Like you literally have to ask for it in order to get it. He's like, that's how I got started. And I remember those days when it was just my dad and 2 guys out in the field, and now he's got 50. And so that's been real good, and a lot of character building happened this past year as well. Yeah.
Well, I love how you said the personal brand, because I think that's super important. And I'm heavily into 10X, Cardone methodologies, and that's what they say too. I mean, of course you have your business, but you personally are a business, right? You are a brand, and you have to put it out there. So, what are some of the other things that you try to put out there on social to build your personal brand?
Right.
Is it simply just putting out what you have going on, or do you use any other strategies?
Well, it's kind of hitting 2 birds with 1 stone is the chamber events. I like to make a post, most every time I go, because not only is that kind of boosting my credibility or rapport, or just kind of getting my name out there amongst like my following or whatever, but it's also getting people's attention towards the chamber. So it's kind of one of the ways that I try to give back to them is by posting to make it known that the chamber is great and that's where I'm at. And then, I mean, if I have a project going on that I like, then I'll post about it just all sorts of stuff. Something's interesting, I'm posting about it. I like to, sometimes I'll have to give my guys rides, if there's like a 4-person crew, and, I had one of the guys drop 2 of them off, and then 2 of them with the truck head over to another job, and I've got to move these other 2 people around, rolling around with them in the truck, might as well take a selfie with them, or
let's get it,
take him out to lunch or whatever it is. So kind of whenever you think clean cut, this is another one of the things that I like to think I discovered it without my dad's help, is like when you think clean cut, I want you to think about Jack. Like if you look at my business page, a lot of my stories and all that type of stuff have my face in it. Trying to match the face with the brand, is always kind of my focus.
And they should be. That should be intertwined.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are the face of it.
Yeah.
Be. So.
Yeah, for now at least.
Right.
Yep.
I like that 6-pack concept that you said. Do a lot of companies do stuff like that? I'm just curious.
Uh,
I find that to be a good strategy.
yeah, not that I'm aware of. And, I think a lot of times I get people telling me like, you're real outgoing or whatever it is. And I hate door knocking. I really don't enjoy it at all. It's something that is not fun to do for me, and for a lot of people. So I don't think that a lot of people do that. I think that also it's like the fear of rejection's pretty bad too.
Yeah.
I remember like when I was 13, it was spring break and I had a week off of school. And my dad every morning just dropped me off in a neighborhood and be like, okay, let me know when you're done with this neighborhood, So that was kind of it. Like, you're sitting on the curb just waiting for it to be over, But one of the things that's helpful is, and I saw this online somewhere, but when I'm going in between doors, I try to jog, right? It's like a light jog because you start off, your first couple doors, it's a fresh day, you're ready to get after it. Maybe you got a little motivational speech in you or something like that, so you're walking chest up, shoulders back, and then 10 no's later, then you're slowing down, then another 10, then you're slowing down. Eventually you're just sitting on the curb, So the door knocking's really been a hidden gem. And we have a guy in Decatur. His name's Tyler. He's my age. We grew up, went to school together, always real good friends. And he told me, spring break of senior year that he wanted to get into sales. It's like, we'll talk to my dad, and so my dad put him on the doors. And at the time we had like a 55-year-old salesman, right? He had been in sales forever and was taking like all our inbound leads at the time. And so Tyler went out, had never painted a house before, like never done any, and nothing in the field, and sold like an $18,000 deck rebuild his first week, and then decided that he wasn't going to go to college. Summer rolled around and he was hitting the doors every day. We're like, man, this kid's like, he's bringing more revenue than this other guy, and he's getting warm, hot, inbound leads, So that's when Tyler took that dude's job in his truck in his office, and so Tyler's been hitting it ever since. So the door knocking, I mean, even if you strike out, like it's good to get that rejection in you, again, to build that character. It makes you a man for sure, Yeah. And then also like the branding pays off, and then you never know, like you can knock on someone's door and they're like, I really need my whole house painted, and it's exactly. Like, oh, that worked out.
Fell right into this one. Right.
Yeah. I have like a commercial building. Last year I happened to be in the paint store and this gal came in, and I'll never forget. She was like, I need a house painter. She's all, she's all wired up. Like, I need a house painter. And I was like, well, I'm a house painter, She's like, well, come on. Like, I have a building I need to show you. I'm like, okay. So I looked at it that day, shot her a proposal, painting the outside. It's not too far from here. It's at South 6th Street frontage road. It's like a white brick building. And yeah, we did the outside of it, and then we're doing the inside of it right now, And so it's just like, you're never going to get lucky if you don't try. It's like, if every day you wake up and you try, well, one of those days you're going to get lucky,
Yeah. It's amazing how quote unquote lucky you can get when you put in the work. Right?
Yeah. It's like work, no results. I'm a little bit better, Yeah. Yeah. It's like the fool's gold. You ever heard of that? Where they're shoveling for the gold and then the dude gives up. Next dude comes along, one dig, he hits the gold. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just kind of, and that's one thing too. Like my business has really shifted over the past year. Now I've got a lot of inbound calls, a lot of stuff coming in from a magazine or a sponsorship or an ad that I ran. So I'm not really doing that as much anymore, but I always try to keep that chip on my shoulder. Like I look on my calendar, I'm like, man, I'm slammed today. Like, how am I going to get all this done? But I'm like, I get to be slammed today. Like this is a real privilege. Like a lot of people aren't,
That's right.
So, yeah, I'm just glad, we're blessed to have the work that we have and have all the opportunity that we have. And that was one of the main reasons why I moved to Springfield, was just because of all, I saw all the opportunity that was here and decided I might take a stab at it, So
I love the way you put that. Yeah. I get to be slammed.
That's right.
I love that. So that's the mindset to have. You need to have no white space on that calendar.
Right.
Every single
that's
day,
right. That's the devil,
So you know it.
Yeah.
So you said Tyler, right?
Yeah.
So why do you think he was so successful so quickly? Did you guys go through some training with him, or did he kind of have some just skills that allowed him to be successful right away? How'd that work?
Well, he's a people person by nature, and we always, obviously helped him out and gave him tips and pointers and helped him along the way. But a lot of that too is like, having him around really makes me grateful, because like I was born into a family that is all entrepreneurial. Like my dad, is doing what I want to do, and my grandpa's a business coach and used to be, a successful business owner and all that. And Tyler wasn't that way. Doesn't have any entrepreneurs in his family. I'm not going to tell his story for him or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, Chip, came into it humble, ready to eat, really eager to learn and grow, and had that mindset, like I'm going to do whatever it takes, to succeed in this thing. So yeah, just went out there every day, hit the doors, and didn't stop, and struck gold. And now he's doing pretty well.
Love
so
it.
yeah,
Love it.
yeah. He was out there last year at the home show helping me.
I remember that.
Yeah, be there again this
there with
weekend. Yeah.
Anything big planned for that?
No, I think I'm just gonna. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
So I think same old thing we did last year.
Yeah, you guys did great last year.
Yeah,
won the award and the whole thing.
Yeah,
right?
well, it's the same deal, same thing as door knocking. It's like going into it. I remember having a conversation with Tyler in the truck on the way over there. We're like, hey, like Tyler asked me, like, hey, do we need chairs? I'm like, no, like we don't need chairs. So put our phones on silent. Didn't eat, didn't sit down the whole time. Just went out there and shook some hands. Kissed some babies.
I mean,
out.
It's the same thing with
Yeah.
what, like you said about what you put in, you get out of it,
Mhm.
right? There are some people that go to those trade show events and sit in the booth
Right.
and wait for people to come to you.
Mhm.
And if nobody comes to you, then nobody comes to you.
Right.
But then there's guys like you that will be out front making things happen,
Right.
and that makes it a successful event for you.
Well, that kind of ties back into like why like a second generation business owner might fail, right? It's because like I'm in a position where this home show has to work out, especially last year. Like I was not in a great like cash flow wise, you know what I'm saying? Like
Sure.
this didn't work out. If it didn't pay for itself, I'm in trouble here.
Mm.
Like I got to make this worth it. So
Right.
it's kind of that drive. Like I had to do that, and that's kind of why I think a lot of the second generation business owners fail. Or if you see somebody that's kind of tucked back in their booth, like they're probably not the owner, because like you might get paid hourly to do that. So whether you succeed or you don't succeed, who cares?
It doesn't
You're
really
still
matter.
getting paid.
They're
but,
getting the same whatever.
Yeah. So, but for me, it was like, yeah, I mean, if I don't succeed, then where are my guys going to go tomorrow? So that was a big part of it.
How important is that for motivation? Having that skin in the game.
I think that's pivotal. That's kind of having that drive and like this needs to work out. Like that's why like when people ask me like, well, what would you be doing if you weren't doing this? Or I've gotten like a couple job offers or whatever to do sales, and it's like I don't even think about like the second option. Like I'm on this, and like I'm not gonna stop. It's like 5 years from now, like the only thing I see is like this working out for me. And I don't have like a plan B or anything. And I think that is what's key. Like if you have to succeed, then you have to. You're gonna either succeed or you're gonna put in the work and not succeed, but try again. So.
Yeah, because I mean, your purpose is so strong.
Right.
You're going to get done what you need to get done to be able to make that happen.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it just takes longer, but yeah, it's just like what I said. If you put in the work every single day, without like doing things you hate like you love it, then you're gonna get lucky eventually. Yeah, luck is kind of like a compound effect. So.
I like that. I like that. Would you say that again? Do the things you hate like you love them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's from Mike Tyson or something like that. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people say that, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. Well, that's true to a degree, but most of the time we're going to be doing things we don't like. We're going to be doing things that we hate in order to succeed and get to where we need to go.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and especially like, when you're starting out, it's like that leap of faith, so like right now my obstacle is like, I'm trying to change it from 70% of the things that I'm doing right now. I don't really particularly enjoy doing, so how can I flip that to where it's like 10% of the things is what so that's kind of part of now that I've established I'm going to be here for a while. There's been a guy here in town that's really helped me out quite a bit, done really close to the same thing that I'm trying to do, and he, I've got a vision for where I want this thing to go. So, and part of that is like I think about what I'm best at, and that's like sales and some of the back end customer service, but I don't want to be a production guy. I don't want to be out picking up trash, so what he told me to do was every 15 minutes write down what you're doing, so I did that for 2 weeks, and at the end of the 2 weeks I took how much I made last year, divided that hourly, right? I took like on average how many hours did I work, so let's just say I made like $30 or $35 an hour. Well, this thing that I'm doing right now, would I pay someone $30 an hour to do this? And like a lot of the stuff I was doing, it's like the answer was no, So it's like, okay, well maybe I need to bring on someone for $18 an hour to do this, and get the same results. Well, I'm focused on the things that I need to be focused on, which is like growth, and making sure people are happy and kind of just being out there in the, in the field and doing my thing. So
and that's where the scaling piece comes in.
Yeah.
When you're when you have enough revenue coming in to be able to hire some folks to do those things that you either don't want to do yourself or they're not driving enough impact. Whereas, the things that you're really great at and you want to do are going to drive the most impact and the most revenue, where you can have somebody else doing these other things. So.
Well, it's like if I'm picking up trash or I'm like sweeping up a job site, it's like, man, like it's almost like an opportunity cost. Like, what are the things I'm not doing right now?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I carry tools in my truck, happy to take care of a touch up or sweep it up, myself if there's something going on or whatever. But that's not what that's not me. Like, that's not what I want to be doing.
If you're spending an inordinate amount of time on that, there is a large opportunity cost for that.
Yeah, well, sometimes I kind of had to show these dudes that are 40 years old working for me that, I can get down to,
Sure.
I'm with you.
Well, you have to sometimes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's step away from the business for just a second. What are some things you do to elevate your personal life? What are some things you do day in, day out, whenever to elevate your personal life?
Well, I would say one of the biggest things is listening to the podcast Elevate Springfield.
Oh, I love it. Look at that. But, my man, Jack.
That's right. No, but a lot of that's like the learning. So reading books and listening to podcasts and audiobooks and all that. It's kind of the obvious answer, right? Mm-hmm. You're always getting better. But the personal development, I think, is huge. And a lot of that for me is my physical, like how am I doing physically? Like if I'm in shape, like I look at it like if I'm out of shape, and that means I don't take care of myself, so if I don't take care of myself, how am I supposed to take care of my clients? So working on myself, making sure that my mind's right going into my day. Like I like to kind of wake up before all my guys are going and get going in the morning and get my mind right before I hit the field, start checking my jobs, and running my appointments and stuff. So yeah, making sure that like I personally am straightened out, you know what I'm saying, both physically and mentally, and that's been a big part of it. Making sure I'm taking care of myself and that everything's adjusted before I get into it. So
okay. I'm the same way. What does that look like? What kind of workout routine you do?
Well, I don't have I'm really all over the place right now, and this is one of the things that I'm working on in my business right now. Is like, okay, I need to pick one. Like either it's an early morning or it's a late night, but it, it can't be both, and it can't be all over the place. So I'm working on that rhythm right now, but I'd prefer, in an ideal day for me is I like to get like my admin stuff out of the way. I have a call every morning with my dad and our production manager in Decatur at 6:30, and that lasts about 30 minutes. It's like, okay, what guys you have coming up today? What are they doing? Like, what's the goal for today? What are they going to get done? What's tomorrow look like? And how many sales appointments you have today? Like, are you on track for your sales goal this week and all that type of stuff? So, ideally I get up, have my cup of coffee, get all my admin stuff out of the way, answering emails, hit that call, then hit the road, then find time somewhere in the evening to hit that workout. But I'm a runner, so, the weather's turning warm this season.
Get out a little bit more now. Yeah.
And I tell you that has really, we ran a marathon last year. One of my buddies that I met through the chamber, we ran it together without training. But the running thing is big. I like being out in nature, and running. The thinking, it's a lot of productive thinking that I get done during that, So yeah, I like to run.
I've never been a long distance runner. I like running okay, but I'm more of a sprinter. I like doing some interval sprints and things like that. That's just always been me. But then I like my weight training and everything in the morning. So.
Yeah. Oh, and like whenever you're putting yourself through that pain, it's just like, I'm growing. Like this feels great, So you gotta really shift your mindset on that. Like, oh, this sucks, but I love it. We
might just have to get you in on a 4:30 a.m. workout with me.
Goodness.
We'll do the early morning weight training together.
Well, you got a couple years on me, man. I don't know if I can hang with you. So
I got you. Yeah, I'll get you there. I'm sure you can hang with me. I only have 20 some years on you.
That's right.
Big deal.
Yeah, but it's nuts though. Like if you're personally not in it, not in the game, and something's going on at home or something like that, it's nuts the impact that has on your business. I see a lot of guys that maybe it's marital problems or family issues or health problems or whatever it is, and it's like they're falling apart all over the place. You got to be tens in each area. And so what that looks like for me is just like is my physical well-being okay? Is my mental well-being okay? And like is like what I got going on, like my career, is that going well?
Yeah.
So like all three of those, I try to get as high as possible, because if one of them's low, it's probably going to have an effect on the other of them.
It absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you tend to that mental well-being? What do you do mindset-wise to keep yourself straight?
Yeah, a lot of it's like the negativity, and this is another quote from the dude that has been helping me out here in Springfield. But if it's still going to be a problem, if it's not going to be a problem 6 months from now, then it's not really a problem, you know? So like I look at things, I don't really like to use the word problem because when you think about problems, you think about, oh, I got a problem. Oh, you know, it's bad. Or it's a negative word to use. So I like to use like obstacle or challenge because those are things that you can overcome, you know? So, you know, it's solution oriented thinking as well. So like a lot of fires come up through the day, like guys went to the wrong house or, you know, whatever it is. It's just like not thinking about, oh, this is so bad. This is so bad. And thinking about how are we going to come out of this? So the solution oriented thinking, there's a good book out there. It's called Relentless Solution Focus. And that's kind of shifted that a lot for me. And then also just making sure that like my mind's right. So like, am I visualizing? I read this book. It was called Psycho-Cybernetics. And that is like, aside from the Bible, I think that'd probably be my favorite book of all time.
I've read that one as well.
Yeah. One. But like the power of the mind is like such a beautiful thing. And like, it's either going to be your best friend or your worst enemy. And that's kind of your choice, you know? So it's like a weapon, you know? So is that right? You know, like, am I intact here? So yeah, I like to be sharp. You know, it's, there's a UFC fighter, Sugar Sean, and his mantra is, too sharp, too fast, too focused. So I wrote that on my bathroom mirror. So every morning when I'm shaving and brushing my teeth, I look at that. Here we go. You
Love
know,
it.
Ready to go.
How important is that, having those positive mindset reminders around you in your environment like that?
Yeah, it's great. And it's kind of like clean cut. We like to think about it like yesterday doesn't matter. Like yesterday's over with. Whether it was the best day of your life or the worst day of your life, like no matter what, you start from zero every day when you wake up, you know? So waking up every day, like, okay, I got to do it all over again today. So that's been pivotal, and having it around you at all times, like surrounding yourself with it has been great. I don't like any weeds in my garden. So all my friends and all my family and all that, like all the people that I surround myself with are always kind of supporting that thinking that I have. They're to encourage me and help me out, you know, and I don't like the yes people. So if I got something going on and I'm venting to you about it, like tell me if I'm wrong. You know, like, you know, am I the bad guy here? You know, so, and I've got a dude that'll tell me that, you know, whether it's like a business thing that I'm having, or he'll be like, hey, Jack, you're looking kind of fat, man. When was the last time you were in the gym? Like, I need that, you know? So
absolutely.
Yeah. Just kind of surrounding myself with that at all times has been pretty important for me.
And you have a mastermind group. We've talked about that, right? You have a mastermind group that meets weekly.
Yep, right? Every Saturday morning, 7 a.m. on a Zoom call.
Those are super important. I mean, how valuable have they been to you in your personal and professional journey?
Well, I'm a gain thinker. So Dan Sullivan created a concept called the gap in the game. So you got like your ideal, which is like where you want. That's like the horizon, right? So that's the point where the sun meets the ground, although that's not like an actual point, but from far away, you can see it. And then there's like where you're at currently, and there's where you started. So like if you're measuring your success against your horizon, right, or your ideal, which might be 10, 20 years from now, you're always going to be upset because you're not there yet, you know? But if you think about the gain, which is measuring your success based on where you started, right? I look at that like I've been doing this mastermind for 2 years, you know, and 2 years ago I was just getting into sales like independently, you know, and now like that's really kind of the easiest part of what I do, you know. So like you think about all the growth that you've had, and like would I be here today without those people around me at all times, you know, always there to rely on, and I can call them if I got a problem. Or on the opposite side of that, man, like if something great happens to me, like I'll share that with them. Like, oh, I just sold this big paint job, you know? And like your average Joe probably ain't gonna, it's like, oh, you sold a big paint job, right? You know, good for you. But like these dudes, like, whoa, you know, that's awesome,
and
you know,
super excited for you.
Yeah, and we're all real open with each other, you know. So like if I'm really not doing well, like I'll pull out the P&L. I'll be like, hey, here we go. How do I fix this? You know, and they'll be able to help me out too. So got some second generation business owners in there too. So all kind of on the same track where it's like we know about that 80%, and we want to live in that 20. So that's kind of what we're all about. Yeah,
and they're the same group of guys that, like you said, will tell you if you're haven't been working out in a little bit. That's right. Back at it, right?
Yeah, so they're great at holding me accountable for sure. Yeah, and I appreciate it. Yeah.
So every time I see you, you always seem pretty motivated. But are you the type of person that values, you know, motivation or more discipline? Because there's like two sides of that, where you can be super disciplined and not have the motivation. You can have the motivation and not necessarily have the discipline. But what's more important to you?
Well, I, without a doubt, I would say it would be the discipline. You know, if you're motivated, then you're relying on the motivation, right? Yeah. You're like relying on the David Goggins YouTube video that you watched that morning. But if you're disciplined, it's like whether I feel awful or like if I feel great, I'm still going to be doing the same thing,
Yeah.
you know? So the discipline to have that. And then like, if I do get some motivation, that's just like an extra boost that I'm not relying on, you know? So have a discipline and just like, no matter what's going on in my life, like if I'm going into a sale or I'm going into an event somewhere, like I want to give that image that like I'm positive no matter what, you know? So kind of, if it's out of my control, if it's bad, it's out of my control, then it is what it is.
No, I completely agree.
Look forward and keep going.
Yeah,
you know?
discipline where is where it's at. Because motivation can only take you so far.
Right.
But I liken it to a lot of people say I'm going to try to do this, I'm going to try to do that.
Right.
I try to change my mindset and say I will do this, I will do that.
Yeah.
That way my discipline comes through. It's like you said, no matter how I wake up in the morning at 5 a.m., I'm going to be down getting my stuff done in my morning routine that I want to get done. It's a discipline that I'm going to do. I will do this every single day.
Well, it's the power of the mind. You know, it's like, yeah, I get to go to work today, or I get to work out, or I am going to work out. You know, you're like subconsciously training your mind. And it's like you start off small too. I mean, whenever I got into working out, I remember one of my friends had started doing 75 hard. And I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to do that, you know? But started telling myself, okay, well, every morning I'm going to make my bed. So I started making my bed every morning. And then it kind of like, okay, I'm going to work out at least 3 times a week, you know, and just the same thing with business too, you know, like that momentum is super key. And just keeping it going, you know, and keeping it rolling into the next week or the next day or whatever it is, it compounds. But on the opposite end of that, if you say that you're going to do something and you don't do it, then that'll take away from the confidence pretty quick.
No doubt about it.
So, yeah.
So what are some of the discipline things you do day in, day out for your business?
Yep. So I have measurables every week. So part of the deal is like I have the amount of outbound calls I have to make, amount of door knocks I have to knock, and I do like 3 realtor calls every day. Realtors are kind of like my bread and butter because we're real familiar with like inspection reports and helping people make closings happen. So they're like a great referral source. Shout out to Fritz Pfister if you're watching this.
My man, Fritz.
Yeah, he helped me out quite a bit. You know, putting on the Fritz. You know, so so I try to make. Or I do make 3 outbound calls every day to a realtor. You know, just, hey, I'm Jack Geiser. I want to introduce myself. You know, if you ever need anything. So it's like I break it down per year. Right, like what do I want to do this year, and then what does that look like per month or per quarter, and then you break down to months, and then you break it down to weeks, and then it's like a per day thing. So it's 3 realtor calls, 10 outbound sales calls, and it's like 3 door knocks every day. So
I love that. Is that the way you kind of do most of your goals? You kind of set that goal and then back into it to your strategies and tasks on what needs to accomplish on a daily basis?
Yeah, absolutely. Dan Sullivan says it's goals like an orange. So like the orange would be like the yearly goal, right? And then you peel it. So you break it down, and then you peel it in your slices. You break down even further, you know? Then you've got like each individual slice of the orange, and then you eat it, right? That's taking action. So you can like have this all thought out, you know, and like work really well thought out plan for where you want to be and what you're going to do. But, you know, it doesn't really matter if you're not doing the little things, you know, like if I don't make the calls today, then I'm not going to make them tomorrow, and I won't hit them this week, and my revenue is going to be down, you know? So
absolutely.
It's kind of the way I look at it. Yeah. Got to break it down each day.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
Yep.
So what would you say your biggest win is over the last year with Clean Cut being a little over a year into the business? What's your biggest win so far?
Well, I think overall it's been like being able to get plugged into the community in the way that I have, like, and I'm not like by any means any sort of like local celebrity or anything like that at all, but like it's cool because like I go out to the grocery store and I run into someone that I know from a chamber event. You know, it's just real rewarding to look at. Think again in the gain, right? Like where I started a year ago when no one knew me, and now I can run into people all over the place. Like I was just I was at like a tools Harbor Freight was where I was at. I'm never at Harbor Freight either. I was just in a pinch, and I ran into a dude that I met at the chamber event there. Yeah, you know. So that's been like the most rewarding
awesome.
thing. That's like the most, and I love like repeat business and referrals because like, and I do a lot of like, you know, outbound sales reach, a lot of marketing and all that now. But I'm marketing. I don't know who these people are. And I'm glad to get to know you, but I don't know you, you know? But if I paint your house and, you know, it went really well, you're a great client, then you tell your friend about me. Well, you are who you associate with. So your friend's more than likely going to be a great client and fun to do business with. So,
Right.
and it's kind of like having an unpaid salesman out there in the field, so.
It absolutely is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the way you put that.
Yeah.
That was paid salesman. That's a good one.
Yeah. That was one for old Brad White from Fearless.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
There you go. Shout out to Brad.
Yeah,
there.
that's right.
That's a good one.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, what would you tell younger professionals? Maybe they're trying to start their own business. Maybe they're just trying to make it in a business that they work in right now. What's a piece of advice you would give them based on some of the success that you've had?
Well, I'd say like if you've already figured out what you want to do, you've kind of gotten a lot of the work out of the way. That's I know a lot of times that's a challenge for a lot of young people is figuring out what they want to do because they're getting pressure from all over the place. Like, should I go to college? Should I not go to college or whatever it is? And a lot of it too is taking the leap. You gotta make the reach out there and get yourself plugged in. Whether you're at a 9-to-5 job or you're starting your own business or you're in a sales role or whatever it is, you have to meet people and get plugged in and do it yourself. Like you have to. It didn't happen on its own. That's definitely one thing that I learned over the past year is that this does not happen on its own.
You got to make it happen.
Yeah, you have to happen to it. So getting out there. I mean, like GC says, taking that massive action. Getting out there and making it happen for yourself. Like learning from as many people as you can. So when I say like I ask for help, it's not only like, hey, I need business, I need work, but it's also like, hey, I need your help, I need your input. Like, will you please like sit down with me for lunch one day, or to sit down with someone that is either a successful business owner in general. If you can find someone that's successful in your industry, that's a big win. But yeah, just a successful business owner in general, they've been through the same thing that you're going through. So whether it's like, okay, like how am I going to, make sales happen, or how am I going to keep track of my gross margin, or how do I back down on these operating expenses? Like they're going to help you out because they've already figured it out. You need to reinvent the wheel. You just go out there and learn from others.
And a lot of the good ones out there, the great ones, they're going to be more than happy to give you time.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because they want to help.
That's what I've learned too, is like the most successful people I've ever met are like the people that I can call, and they get back to me. Yeah. Right. Like they're not condescending, or they're not like, oh yeah, I'm way above this. Like that's not how it is. Like they can relate to you because they were, and a lot of the times like they had that person that helped them get to where they're at. Like with Brad, he introduced me to Butch Elsie, and so Butch I think was kind of that guy for him, and Brad's kind of helped me in that same way. So it's all the successful people, and especially in the Springfield community, that's one thing that I really appreciate about like the chamber and all the people that I've met is they're all there to help you. And you help them, and everyone wins. So
no doubt about it.
Yeah,
get
absolutely.
Connected.
That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah. Well, Jack, we've had some good takeaways so far. I'd like you to give me one more from your personal side, one more from your business side, to help folks out there elevate their life or business.
Yeah, I would say in your personal life, you kind of the self-assessment, the self-reflection. Think about what you're doing right, recognize that, and what can you get better at that will elevate other people, So like if I am working out, then I'm improving myself, and then I can better serve my clients or the community, So I think it kind of always starts with just a step back, look in the mirror, and really think about, okay, who am I? Who do I want to be? And what do I need to do to get me to where I want to be, And it's kind of the same thing in business is, what we've been talking about this whole time is just getting out there and making it happen, like nobody's coming to save you, so you really got to fight through those challenges. And, one thing that my dad told me is like, yeah, I mean, because I would call him during the day or whatever, like, hey, one of the guys has a flat tire. What do I do? It's like, well, you already know what to do. Like, call a tow truck. Why are you calling me about this? So I kind of got like afraid of calling him, Sure. And then like eventually I'm like, dude, like, why are you so mean to me during the day? He's like, dude, I guess for your own good. Like, even if I did help you every step of the way, I wouldn't really be helping you. And I'm your dad. No one really wants to listen to their dad. Like, just figure it out. Like, you make the decisions by yourself. If it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, well, you take something from the failure. Like evaluated failure is the best teacher. So try to take something from every experience, and making a decision is better than not making one at all. Whether it's a wrong decision or a right one, it's better than not doing anything. Five frogs on the log,
Right. Yeah. Love it, man.
Absolutely.
Well, Jack, if somebody wants to do business with you, maybe they have some work that needs done or whatever, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Yeah, well, they can reach out via call or text at 217-494-7028. That's my cell phone number. I don't have a wife or kids yet, so I'm always on that bad boy, Or they can go online, cleancutservicespringfield.com and reach out there. So
that's awesome.
Yes, sir.
Jack Geiser, I highly recommend you, man. Appreciate
that.
you spending some time with us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to let Jack get back to elevating Springfield for the rest of y'all. We'll be right back after the break. Hey, everybody. Need a fresh look or a quick fix for your home or business? Call my man Jack Geiser at Clean Cut Painting and Handyman. They offer competitive rates and immediate response. Clean work, done right, right now. That's Clean Cut. Call Jack at 217-494-7028. All right, Jack Geiser, phenomenal, right? What'd you guys think about Jack? Hey, highly recommend him. If you need any work done, head on out to Clean Cut Painting and Handyman. They'll get you taken care of. But hey, we're going to talk a little bit about what we discussed through a 10X lens, just like we always do. A lot of what Jack talked about fit right in with 10X methodologies, but let's go ahead and get right into it. He talked about his mastermind group that meets every Saturday. How many of you guys have a mastermind group? How many of you guys even know what a mastermind is? Hey, for those of you that don't know what a mastermind group is, it's a group that you have with some other folks that are really trying to strive for bigger and better things. These people that are really trying to get after it, no excuses, making things happen for their success. So you meet once a week with these folks that want to expand and blow up. Like we've always talked before, you have to surround yourself with great people. You're going to be the average of the 5 people you hang around with most, right? So you need to be around hitters and winners. And one way you can do this is through a mastermind. Now, these folks have to be, again, people that are highly motivated and disciplined, right? They need to be folks that will tell you the truth and help you where you need to be helped. And also, you're going to help them along the way too. But it's going to be a great way for you to have accountability for yourself and then also help you to, quite frankly, dream bigger. If you have the right folks in this mastermind, they're going to be fuel, they're going to be motivation, they're going to be inspiration to you. Next thing he talked about was, being highly involved in these networking groups like the Chamber, like Local First, things like that, like SILSA, right? These are very important as well. One, because just like we mentioned in the mastermind, you want to be around people that are winning, people that are striving, right? And the people that go to those events typically are striving for something better. That's why they're there, right? But as we mentioned when we were discussing this with Jack, it is what you make it, right? So when you're going to these networking events, it's not about just sitting there having a beer, shooting the breeze with people, right? It's finding collaboration points. It's finding partnerships. It's meeting new people. It's figuring out how we all can work together to help expand each and every one of our businesses, right? So everybody's going there for the same reason. They're there to network. So don't be afraid to go up to people, have conversations. That's what they are there for. So if you're the type of person that's a little more introverted and you're going to these events, hey, you got to figure out a way to break through that fear, knowing that everybody is there for the same reason. They're there to meet people. They're there to collaborate. They're there to partner. If you're there to grow. If you're not there to grow and you're just there to drink a beer, that's not going to do much for you. All right. So he also mentioned 80% of second generation business owners fail. And what he attributed some of that to was really lack of struggle, right? So the first generation business owner not putting the second generation owner through the paces, right? That's understandable. Anybody out there that have kids, which I do, you want your kids to have a better life than you do. You want to set them up for success, and you don't always want them to have to go through the same things you had to go through, but there is growth in the struggle. And, in the 10X mindset, Grant Cardone himself had a lot of struggle up front. When I was out at 10X Growth Con a couple of weeks ago, a lot of these billionaires talked about embracing the struggle, right? Living in that, knowing that those tough times, those hard startup times are going to be beneficial for you down the road because it allows you to be It doesn't allow you, it forces you to be creative in your growth. So embracing that struggle. So if you're a early on business owner right now, hey, it might not feel great, but embrace that struggle, knowing that if you continue to take massive action, you're going to come out on the other end much better. Quote, he said he wants to be tens in each area. If you listen to any of my stuff on social, you may have heard this one before. I've said it a few times. We, as 10Xers with a 10X mindset, we want to be exceptional in every area of our life. We want to be great in our health, wealth, and relationships. Hey, if I'm not healthy, none of the other stuff matters. If I don't invest in myself, in my health, I am not going to be able to be there fully for my business, my family, and everybody around me, right? So we want to make sure we are tens, like Jack said, or be exceptional, like I've said before, in all areas of life. Because if you're successful in your business and your personal relationships fail, that's not good. If your business is thriving and you don't have your health, that's not going to be good for you either. So we want to be great in all three of those areas, and we can be. We don't have to think in terms of balance. It's about prioritizing your time, your money, and your efforts to making sure that you are set up for success and exceptional in every area of life. Positive reminders. Jack talked a little bit about one that he put on his mirror to where he sees it every day when he's shaving. That is a really good strategy. You should have positive reminders in your office space, in your home. I'm sitting here in my office right now, and I've talked about it before. I've got my 10X stuff surrounding me. I've got the picture saying, "You are greatness, don't fight it." I've got Disney memorabilia around here. I really like the Disney story, the creative and immersive experience that they provide, and it's been a really great vacation and bonding spot for my family. So I've got that around here. I've got my 10X rule book sitting right next to me. I'm currently wearing my 10X hat. I've got a hustle muscle bracelet on, always having things around me to keep me positive. So, hey, what can you do to increase the amount of things or increase the positivity in your environment to give you those positive reminders? We also talked a little bit about kind of I will try versus I will. I've talked before that when you make that mindset shift from I will try to lose weight, or I will try to grow my business, or I will try to make these calls, or I will try to answer these emails in a certain amount of time, right? That essentially gives you an out and allows you to fail. But if you say, I will do this, I will get up every single morning at 5 a.m. and I will work out. I will make sure my nutrition is on point every single day. I will make sure that I achieve all my targets and tasks that I had set out in my battle plan for the day. It gives you one motivation, right? When you say I will do it, because you are essentially, tying yourself to it. You are obligating yourself to that thing or that task or that goal or whatever it is. It takes the it's okay to fail out of it, because you are now obligating yourself to it, not anybody else, but yourself. And that's the most important piece, making sure you are sold on what you want to do and obligating yourself to one, the action, and then also the result of that action. One of the other things, and final one we're going to talk about here, is how Jack talked about he does his goals and tasks and strategies, right? We've talked about that before. Setting all of your goals, having your targets for your day, your week, your month, your year, and how he does that is very similar to how we do it here at 10X. Is you set that goal and then back into it, right? Figure out exactly what needs to be done this month, then this week, then this day and then this hour and then even this 15 minutes. Hey, how many calls you need to make? How many reach outs do you need to have? How many, if you're working out, how many workouts do you have to have? How many steps you got to get in? All these different things, no matter what your goal is, we're going to back into that with the targets, strategies, and tasks necessary in order to complete them. And of course, if you are 10x, then you're going to multiply those tasks, those strategies by 10, because you need to take massive action, and most people underestimate the amount of action it takes to reach their goals. So with 10x, you need to 10x that action, and I know y'all can do it. So again, Jack Geiser was awesome. A lot of great stuff. We'll be right back after the break. Hey, everybody. If you like what you've heard so far, hey, join us over on Facebook. We have a group and a page over there. You can also join our free community where we will bring you additional insights and strategies to help you elevate your life, your business, and ultimately our community. You can find that link in the show notes. We would love to have you join us. Let's get back to it. Well, thank you for joining us today, everybody. Appreciate you making us a part of your day. Hey, check us out next time where we will continue to bring those actionable strategies. You bring the discipline and follow through, and together we're all going to elevate Springfield. So until next time, be great.